Welcome to Flow Tricks, it's Ken, and today we're going to work a little staff. It's been a while since I've worked with staff. I want to show you these nice little sweep isolations. I received a message on Patreon from a guy named T, and he was just talking about how he was having a hard time finding the staff lessons on Patreon. Now, you know, Patreon's kind of hard to find staff lessons and the other lessons just because of the way that it works, but on the Flow Tricks website, dude, I have all of my videos on there. So if you're a donor, just go to the Flow Tricks website, sign up for it, and you can sort by all different kinds of stuff. All the videos, they've been categorized, they're really easy to find. So that's a message for T as well as to anyone else that was curious. All my videos are on the website, and it's got a little filter where you can find like nunchuck, beginner nunchuck, passes, for instance. You can filter all that out so you can find very specific things. Anyways, so today we are working on staff, and what we're going to work on is kind of an isolation. So this has been a while since we've done a staff, but you should know the rotor pass by now. If you don't, go look up Ken Hill rotor pass staff. Rotor pass is just a way to move the staff between two hands, right? But what you may not have thought about is a lot of, and this is with just about any kind of prop, a lot of props as they move, we think of it in relative to how it is to our hands. But the moment you start activating your hands in motion, it creates a different kind of effect, even though we're doing a very similar technique. So again, a figure eight's different than if we start isolating or start playing around with the extension of the arm. So that's what we're going to work on today, is taking some simple moves and adding a little bit more flair to it. So as we're doing the rotor, the first thing I want you to do is, as your left hand, so do you remember the rotor is basically both thumbs facing down, both palms facing up as they grab? As your left hand is facing down, I want you to start thinking about not keeping your hands in the center. Like if my hands were points right now, it'd be right here at my chest. Boom, it'd be right here. What I'd like to see you do is, as you pass to your left hand, I'd like to see you create a half moon all the way to the point where your palm is facing up. It would be the same as, it's still the rotor pass where thumbs are facing down, palms are facing up, but now your hand is kind of moving with it, and almost like a half moon, it's almost 3/4 of a circle before it stops. Once it stops, you're going to reach under with your other hand, and then you're just going to kind of continue the motion. Now, this continued motion does not last nearly as long as you can see. So this makes a big swoop here, and then once we move over here, we don't have as big of a turn before we have to reach over and grab it again. And now what we're going to do is, you're just going to keep imagining, you can go a little bit small to start with like this, but you're going to think elbows, your elbows are kind of pulling itself outwards. If your elbows aren't moving, then you're not doing it. Okay, so you're going to move your elbows in time until we have a bigger motion that's happening. Now, there's also another thing that we can do, which is we can also try to isolate the point in terms of thinking, instead of thinking our hands are moving in a circle, the end of the staff is moving in, is staying in a particular spot. For instance, if I think this staff must stay around my chest, the staff would kind of have a motion like this, right? And this is okay, it does not look too good, and the reason why it doesn't look great is just because I'm holding it awkwardly. So you have to make it look cool at the same time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this, we're going to do the same thing here, pretty close. You know how we do the rotor pass where palms facing up, thumbs facing down? This time, as the thumbs facing down, we are going to kind of put this by our chest as we move it. Now, it's going to be kind of, we're not going to be able to extend it as far because the staff is really close to us. Could be by our neck, could be by the chest. So whatever you want to do, we're going to take the underhand grip, roll it, and overhand grip. So now we have like this giant motion that happens. You can turn it too, it's totally fine. So what I'm trying to say is, you can either do it to where you're taking half steps, so I'm making half circles and it's staying still, or you can even rotate it a little bit more, and then the moment that I exchange hands, it's going to give a half rotation before it reaches itself again. The goal is not necessarily to keep this as straight as possible. I want you to play with how this works. The goal is simply to mostly have this around one point of your body. Whatever side of the staff you want. If it needs to switch, great. It's totally fine. And you'll find that all of a sudden the rotor pass, which was kind of a simple pass at first, now has some really interesting variations that can be done with it. whether we're isolating, whether we're opening it up with almost like an extension in isolation, or whether we're just completely isolating it all together without doing this, because this is goofy. So you may have been playing around with it and realize once you get into a nice flow with it, it really has a kind of a cool motion to it. The last part is we're almost going to take like a baseball bat style, almost like a sword type swing. We're going to add it with the staff by holding it off center, okay? So this continues forward. If you notice I'm not holding it perfectly in the center, I guess I should have mentioned that before. A lot of times I'm kind of holding it off center, about a third off from the center point. This is just because it creates a different kind of a weight, a different kind of a balance. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to do very similar to the first that we were working on, where we were doing the rotor pass, but we're kind of extending in this circle. But now we're going to grab it like a baseball bat with both hands, and we're going to go behind us. So basically, it's almost like a reverse. It's almost like a reverse figure eight, really. It's like a reverse figure eight, except for our hands are swooping down, and we're basically creating a half circle from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock behind us, and then it's just like a figure eight. We're pulling it into the front from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Like so. Now what really makes it sell is going to be the big circles that you make. Otherwise you are just doing a figure eight. But if you can feel this motion, and what you really want to do is accelerate here and slow down, and then as soon as you make your cross, accelerate and slow down. And you're going to make big circles, and then all of a sudden you have a nice effect. And some of it is your technique, and some of it is just how you sell it. And I think that's a lot. That's even like as a YouTuber, it's like just presenting information is one thing, but how you present it is a totally different ballpark. And that's usually why some people are viral and why I'm not. But you know what? It's because I'm busy. I just try to get information to you guys as much as I can, as soon as I can, instead of trying to make it like super pretty. I just want to get that information out to y'all. So I hope y'all are flowing well, and I hope you enjoyed this staff video.